Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June Town Council meeting. Thank you all for coming. First on the item is apologies for absence. We've got 3 that's been noted due to holidays: David Gunnell, Frankie and Roger. No others that I'm aware of. So we just have to note that Tim isn't here yet. He does all note when he comes in. Councillors, I'm going to try and dive around here like a rockery. Declarations of interest for the agenda items. Alan?
No, none.
Mike? Emma?
No, none.
John? Janet? Bob?
None I'm aware of.
Harold? Paul?
None that I'm aware of.
And none that I'm aware of. Thank you all. Just before I kind of go into the main kind of agenda items this evening, starting with the chair's updates. Obviously, we got in recent weeks the very sad news after the passing of John Clark, who was a previous town and district councillor for many, many years. An absolutely lovely gentleman to kind of engage with and talk to, and a font full of knowledge. Obviously, his funeral was this past Monday. Just kind of want to place on record the thanks for the town councils, past and present. The immense amount of hard work obviously he did for the town. So thank you, John. Obviously, condolences to the family. Thank you. Chair's updates. We've only got 3 small ones this evening. So we've got Brackenwood, as we know, was a piece of woodland that we bought back in the last year. We are working on a plan which we'll look to bring, all being well, to the September full council meeting kind of discussion about kind of where we go with it, involving the public, etc., etc. So as happened in the past, we have got the 3 reports in. We're just trying to get the prices to get some of the works done on it, and then we kind of take it from there. We have met with the residents up there, and I am planning to get another meeting in with them between now and the end of August. Obviously, it's just kind of holiday season beginning. So once that's done, we'll then bring you back to full council for kind of an update and take it from there. Obviously, the lake grounds, as we all know, there's kind of been a lot going on down there recently. Obviously, the skate park's opened, the play park's been all done and looking far better. We are working on some bits and bobs for the skate park, particularly around the landscape around the areas, but the weather's not helping us at all. It blows the soil across, which makes a bit of a dust bowl, but we are working on it. And obviously there was a rather large tree branch came down the past few days, which has again caused a little bit of damage to the fencing, but we are working with North Somerset on that one. Otherwise, there are no obviously other updates as such for the lake grounds at the moment. The Portshead Post Office, there is somebody who is interested in running a post office in the town, and obviously dialogue has come through from the post office themselves. However, the issue everyone's having is trying to find the premises that suits the venue, and obviously a budget, because everybody has a budget, whether that's the business owner or whether that's the post office. There is a budget that obviously everyone's going to work to. So we are in dialogue with people. There is no further updates as that with yet, but it is being worked on. But all we can do is hope that we can find something, because to have a town of this size, not to have a post office, is just ridiculous. But yeah. So the minute we do have an update, we will come back to you, whether that's full council or both, or community matters as well. We will update you as we go, once we know any more. But obviously we can only do so much, obviously, because we're not ultimately, we can't make the money decisions. It's the business decision. So yeah. So if you leave that with us, we will update you as we go. We move on to public participation. Anybody like to speak this evening? Paul? Yeah. I'll come to Paul, then gentleman, then the lady. Yeah. Owen, Lynn. Thank you. On Paul. Is it on?
Just very quickly, I chaired the PRAM meeting, I think it was last month. I have to just say it was very disappointing that there was 2 town councillors here. There was no district councillors apart from Sue Mason and of course Roger Whitfield, who was also a town councillor. It just goes to show the interest that councillors have got in what the public want to hear.
Thank you, Paul. I'd obviously just to come back on that one. Obviously, I'm going to obviously plan is still to run another one in September. And we'll see what happens. So yeah, leave that with me. Thank you. The gentleman at the back. Sorry, I don't know your name. Sorry. If you'd like to give your name, just for the. Thank you.
David Thrash, Portishead Senior Forum. 6 weeks ago, the forum transmitted a letter to council addressed to the chairman and also copied to Councillor Cartwright relating to a visit that Councillor Cartwright made in April to the council, to the forum. I had an acknowledgement by yourself, but nothing's further. When can we expect some sort of response?
I'm not making excuses, but I have been away personally, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
as I spoke to you before, obviously your main concern was about the projector. As I understand, the halls manager has offered to provide a larger screen for you to use. And like I said to you at the time, if you are not happy with that, you're welcome to come forward to the council and ask to purchase one, which is, sorry.
just 1 second. Sorry, that's a different topic. Sorry. What? Yeah,
It
the,
is.
the
What's
question,
it?
the question was asked was,
What was it?
there was pictures taken at the event.
Yeah, the pictures were taken was just to assess the reflection from the screen. So as far as I'm aware, that apart from obviously the shadowing from the person that was doing the speech at the time, obviously the shadow would appear onto the projection screen. There's no actual reflection, and my concerns are obviously the lighting was lit up this end, so that obviously could cause a slight problem, but there are dimmer stretches so they can be reduced.
Right. The main thrust of the letter, Bob, was really not related directly to that, but simply the fact that you came along and took photographs. You announced your presence. You then took the photographs. Several people objected to you or not allowing us to announce to the audience, to the forum, that you were going to do this. So that seems to be the issue.
The photographs were not being used on any social media site, anything at all. Those photographs were just taken to assess the reflection and shadowing that you were saying that was happening with the screen. That's it.
Okay, I understand that, but you've read the letter, obviously, that we wrote, and we would like a formal response to it. I don't believe anything else is going to happen. So, as I said, several people objected to having photographs taken. When
Well, if the several people would like to contact me, they're welcome
indeed,
to.
but I was going to carry on to say,
Just David, on that one, I'll take it up with Bob and I'll respond to you. I'll take it up with Bob with it and I'll speak to you on that one separately.
Okay.
I'll deal with it and respond to you separately.
All right.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. The lady on the left.
Hi, I'm Jan Probets and I'm also from Portishead Senior. I'm Jan Probets, I'm also from Portishead Senior Forum. Just so Bob knows, we have taken photos. There's us at a meeting with the glare of your maps, right? So don't just say things, we'll check it all out. So at last April's meeting, I submitted questions about your answers to a series of questions I submitted after the March meeting. I duly did this back in April. I came to that April meeting a few days after a hip replacement op. That's how important it was to our 60+ membership at Portishead Senior Forum. Certainly not an easy or comfortable undertaking for me. You have not bothered to answer our questions in the 2.5 months since. We will not give up or go away. I have a few copies of the questions and answers previously put to you, the red print being the last correspondence you have not bothered to answer. which of you councillors can I give a copy to? And we'll answer the questions and come back to me with the answers we need for our members. I've got 3 copies here, seeing as you don't seem to get it any other way from the clerk. Right, can you make a note of that, Rosemary, who's got these? Who else will take one? I don't trust you, I'm afraid.
So you're not commenting about these?
Right. Finally, once again, will you remove the large shiny maps from the wall where they are badly interfere with our use of the hall? Remove the junk from the walls and remove the large railway halt box as no place to be in the hall in the first place. This folk hall is supposedly for hire for parties, wedding receptions, music venues. I've been to all of these here prior to the unappealing look of the hall now, and must be excluding lots of hirers. Being not fit for purpose, the hall is about, oh sorry, you seem to have lost sight of what the folk hall is about. It's a clear space venue for people to hire and pay for just that, not a space cluttered with junk. How do you see this folk hall, predominantly for hire or as a museum favoured by a very small group in Portishead? So can you answer that? How do you see this hall, all of you?
Yeah, can I just say, you can't make accusations, they're just hearsay. That is not the entire public of Portishead. I mean, obviously you can quite happily set up a questionnaire for the entire Portishead, which is 30,000 residents. That's absolutely fine. But you cannot make statements that are just hearsay.
I can do what I want. You can disprove it, but I can do what I want. So yeah. So who's going to answer that?
If it's me personally, I don't. I mean, I'm not here obviously every day. I'm aware the hall's been hired out still regularly, and I'm not aware of any other complaints. I'm some correct from the gentleman behind me.
And yet you've lost custom, because
well-
I've spoken to people who don't hire this hall because of the stuff. Yeah.
Then we need the feedback. So I need the evidence to be able to build a file.
You know,
Oh, no, but
it's
at the
fine.
at the
Right,
moment,
try
no,
Portishead
one
in
second.
blue, try-
One second.
Yeah.
I've listened. So what I'm saying is, if people come to me with the evidence, we can then discuss the evidence. At the moment, I have one group that I am aware of. There may be others. I'm not saying there's not. I'm aware of one group that has concerns about the hall and things in the hall. If I get other groups that come back to us, I can then look at it and assess it. I can't respond on one group. I have to have evidence to be able to back up doing something
But
or
you
not.
don't, when you answer questions, you answer them like the whole village is an idiot. So you.
Well, I haven't
you
said
know,
that for 1 minute, but that's putting words in my mouth, which is slightly unfair. But anyway,
Yeah.
I will deal with it. And if I have the evidence, I will then come back and I will look at it. I will discuss with Mike and Wendy. We'll take it offline and we'll come back to you
Right.
and we'll respond to these questions that way.
Okay. Can I ask the clerk a minute what she does with the information? These emails are going to her. What has she done with them? So when you get them, you just put them on file. You don't give them to somebody who might answer them. Are you for real here? So I write the answers to what, 20 questions that threw up 20 more questions, and you put it on file. And you think that's the right way to deal with things. You told me in the meeting, if I gave you that, you would deal with it. I'm perfectly happy for you to answer in public. Oh dear, dear.
As I say, we'll come back to you. I will look at it. So I've seen the questions now. We'll have a look at it and we'll come back to you.
Right,
We'll do it
okay.
from there. Thank you. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. Bob. Thank you. Just leave it. Can we just quickly go back a second? Sorry, Ken, I'm not stopping you. You can. Bob, I'm asking you to leave it. Please leave it. If you are, then please stop. That's it. Bob. Just. Yeah, that's. Well, I didn't know, but yeah, just can we? Oh, yeah. Well, if that's a yes from Bob, if that's what he's saying, then I don't know.
And if you see them on YouTube or social media, then you can make the accusation. But sadly, you haven't. So although your friend and your political party have posted some 2,500 photo videos,
Well, stop.
your political group,
Bob, Paul,
Paul,
just one second,
Paul. Accusations, Ken, you're on several hundred of them. Where does your videos go, Mr. Maltby?
Bob,
Where does your videos go? Exactly. Where do my videos go?
Bob,
Nowhere.
Bob, stop. Just Bob, you just leave it. This is not, we're not having a slanging match. This is not professional. I know what your question was, Paul. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's not professional. So Bob, just please, if you are recording, taking pictures, stop. And that's it. Thank you. Just one quick thing, because Tim's coming to the meeting, obviously a bit later. Do you have any declarations of interest on the agenda items this evening?
None that I'm aware of, no.
Cool, thank you. Thank you. Ken.
Before we start, Town Clerk, could you please pass my thanks to Sharon for turning up to the funeral of my friend? I can't go myself because I don't need Portishead except to go to Southmead and be all right, so I would be able to go. But I felt she was representing the town. What I want to talk about, two items tonight. This item in the North Somerset Times rag. Councillors felt unsafe. That starts it off. A sportsman, probably Mr. Gardner, a sportsman from Portishead Town Council told North Somerset Town, the council in the past has witnessed very aggressive behaviour during the meetings. This has occurred recently in the past couple of months. The public, councillors and staff felt intimidated and unsafe. There has been an increasing level of aggression and personal attacks towards councillors and staff on social media. Well, as far as the meetings go, over the past year, there's only been 2 people here. Tonight, there's a lot of people here, usually me and Paul. So are you saying that me and Paul are aggressive and you feel unsafe with us? I have never in 15 years or 20 years coming here insulted a member of staff. That is not my bag, and I don't use social media. I couldn't care 2 ups about social media because it's full of scammers and porn, so it's not my cup of tea. So therefore, I reiterate to you now, I have never, ever attacked any member of staff here. You are not political. They haven't stood for office or anything like that. You people have. And if you're in politics, expect to get a few brickbats. It's part of the job. I have criticised councillors. In fact, the councillor I've criticised most is probably Councillor Charles, because I think he's the worst councillor I've ever sent to North Somerset. Now, he said the same things about me. That's fair enough. It's the rough and tumble of being in the kitchen. But to say that tough-looking people like you feel unsafe with verbals, I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. Do you feel unsafe, gentlemen, ladies? Or do you shiver in your shoes when me and Paul get up to speak? You know, Are you wilting roses? I look at, I will say this, I have seen one act of violence here 10, 15 years ago, when a councillor approached a very old man like I am now and frightened him by shouting at him. And I'll not say any more about that, but that's what happened. And that's the only time I've seen violence, what I would consider violence. I've seen the rough and tumble of politics, of course I have. And to say that you people have had a rough time, you should have seen what you people were saying when you weren't in power, when the previous, not the council before was in power. Crikey, they didn't have get some brickbats, is that right, Lena? So please, if you can't take a few brickbats, I suggest you're in the wrong business. The reason, I'll be quite honest with you, the reason I don't particularly like Portishead, whatever you call yourself, independence, because you have no historical feelings. As the first meeting I said, where's the chain of office? All the council leaders before that, is that right? You were council before, always wore with pride the chain of position. The Liberal, you people, the independents, chuck that in the ditch. That doesn't count. History doesn't count for you. So that's why I was initially not very interested in the independents. And I'll leave that subject there. The next subject I want to talk about is that awful building. What's it called, Paul? Something, you know, that big horrible square building with, oh dear, what's it called? Marina Gardens, that's the one. Obviously, they couldn't sell it, so the council kind of took it on through their agent. Are there any people from Portishead in there who are born and bred Portishead? Can somebody tell me that? Because somebody, there is. That's good news. Because I was minding my own business, because these days I'm so old, I'm sitting in the lake ground. Somebody are talking about people from Birmingham going in there. That can't be true, can it? You know, I mean, can somebody find out? Can these North Somerset councils ask these questions?
If we're
Who's in the
correct, it's
building?
run by Alliance Homes, I believe, the building.
Yeah, but
They've got to be, there are strict stipulations on it.
I know there are Alliance Homes, I know that, but
But I-
Alliance Homes, inverted commas, council. No, they're
not.
independent. I know what you mean, but how did I mean, did council, did Alliance Homes pay the full whack for that building? I don't know. Somebody did. I can't see Alliance Homes doing it. They did. Oh well. Let's see how many people from Portishead they've actually put in there then, saying that the eyesore is in Portishead. That's all I'm saying about the place. I don't know much about it. Except, can these North Somerset councillors find out how many Portishead people are actually in there in comparison? You know, and we've had no reports from North Somerset so far. They'll all be on the cloud, so you can't hear what they're saying or know what they've done. So we really need to know what they've achieved this last few months.
You'll find out in a minute, hopefully.
Brilliant. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ken. Lynn.
Lynn Morrissey, Bristol Road. I'm a resident of Bristol Road, and occasionally we keep the council updated to issues along there, because I don't think any of you live there, but you will know the issues if you drive past or try and walk along. Recently, we've had a lot of wing mirror clips again, and it's £500 each time we have to renew it. I'm doing a survey along the street at the moment. I've got halfway along, but people have so much to say that I'll have to go back and do the rest of the street. Basically, we feel it's speed is the issue again, because we don't get buses coming along anymore. I think drivers have sort of lost the idea that you have to give way to things coming in the opposite direction. So when we had buses every half an hour, traffic had to keep back for them to come through. There was just no way there was any room. We've recently done a measurement of cars and vehicles. So we have a Ford Focus, average sort of car. It's 7 foot wide. So we park in the parking line that North Somerset gave us. So the whole road is 23 foot wide. If you take the size of things like Range Rovers and delivery vans and builders vans and the big vehicles that you get, the big BMW kind of, what are they called? 4x4s, yeah. There's no way you've got inches between those vehicles. They're coming through at 30 miles an hour, which they're allowed to do, but there's no give. And they tend to sort of not be aware of the parked cars because they're too busy trying to avoid the moving ones. Now, for years now, the residents, with the support of the last council and the council before that, were asking for 20 miles an hour, because with 20 miles an hour, it does give people the ability who are driving to slow down quicker and to be aware that it is a residential street. We don't have footpaths on some parts of it, but we have very narrow footpaths on other parts of it. We've always felt that children are at risk, people with pushchairs, people with dogs. If you're walking along where there's high hedges, you're liable to get clipped as cars go by their wing mirrors. We've asked for a crossing, and the past council and some of the members who are on this council have set aside money for a crossing. If we can get North Somerset to decide, yes, we can have one, and where they're going to put it. So my question would be, is that money still available? Has it been set aside for the next financial year? Can we pick up where it was left with North Somerset before COVID and before the two councils have altered personnel? And to really strive for a 20-mile-an-hour limit from Gordano School, taking in St. Joe's School, taking in the residential street of Portishead, as far as Middlebridge. It's 30 after Middlebridge up to the main roundabout. But we've had, in my quest yesterday to find out how many mirrors have been knocked in the last 2 years, I think I've got up to about 13. There've been 2 accidents this year. The police were called for 1, but the statistics that North Somerset use doesn't include accidents which the police don't attend. So it's only we locals that actually know how many cars have been in trouble and how many things have been knocked, how many lights have been knocked out, how many near misses for pedestrians crossing. So I'd really like to pick up again where we were before, because Bob Bull and yourself and Bob Cartwright and that, we were all kind of on the case, and then it got lost. So I would be very glad, on behalf of the people who live on Bristol Road, if we could pick it up again and try and get somewhere with this over the next year.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I can't find anywhere in the highway code which says what that white parking line means. We're not sure if car tyres can go into that as they process along the road, because that's what they do. They slalom in and out of the parked cars, which is what clips a lot of the things. And I can't find in the highway code as to what rules are. The gentleman answered.
Yeah. Yeah, normally if there's a white solid light line, it's going to be a clear way. So the idea is that vehicles perhaps stop to let people alight, but they're not allowed to park there. And that's the usual thing with a white solid line. They're not using them so much now.
But that's where it goes along sort of on the edge of the pavement. This is a car width. It's our Bristol Road residents' parking line with one continuous white line, but within that, there's dashed lines where all the little parking bays are. So perhaps we could ask Highways at North Somerset what it actually means, because, as I say, cars travelling along it are using it as a slalom part of the
Yeah, I'll ask the question because I've responded to your email last night on that one
Yeah,
as well.
thank
So
you.
I will take it up and come back to you on that one. And I actually came down Bristol Road this evening, so it's quicker than going through the high street and get stuck in there.
Yes.
Although I do note the roadworks are now gone, but a van's lost his wing mirror as well tonight,
Mhm.
and they are mightily expensive.
Well, there's one van that has lost 5,
Yeah,
and one household that have lost 8. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily because cars are going hugely fast. It's when there's 3 in a row.
yeah, and nobody's prepared to give way. Nobody's prepared to
No,
have 30 seconds with the patience
Yeah.
and let one not go and then let
Yeah.
stop go because the patience doesn't exist apparently anymore on the roads.
So we need to discuss with some of the
Yeah.
highways. which can put them
I'll take it back up again and see where they've got, because they were doing a survey, or supposed to be doing a survey, but we
Yeah.
haven't had the results back.
Exactly.
So that may well have got lost in the whole
Yeah.
transition process, but I will take it back up
And
and come back to you.
I'll continue with my survey and.
Yeah, if you got your evidence,
Yeah.
I think it goes back to a point that was raised a number of months ago, and I can't remember how many ago, by a residents. If people don't report issues, where the police aren't called, if people don't report issues to the police don't know about it, and
Yeah.
therefore where the likes of authorities gather information,
Mm.
well, it's false information because it's not based on all the facts.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story is, which is what we're trying to get across to people, which is
So-
painfully slow at times.
Mhm.
Just keep reporting, just keep reporting.
Yeah.
The police will eventually have to do something anyway. They can't keep saying no, no, no.
Does the council still have that mobile sign which says, flashes up, says 30? Do you remember we had that on Bristol?
I don't know. If I'm honest, no. When was that one?
Oh, a few years ago.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
it was a few years ago.
I don't go down the road that much. Occasionally I go down it when I'm going to the football club or the,
Okay.
what was the garages,
But
but
we
yeah.
like that. It's a mobile one which they bring and put.
Put it on the
wherever you want
post,
it.
yeah, smiley face or sad face.
No, it's not
No.
that. It's just the big 30 which lights up.
Oh, okay.
Cars go past. Yeah, the police. Okay. And also, I don't know who kind of arbitrates with the police, but there used to be a motorcycle speed person who would be down at Travis Perkins early in the morning. It would be really
He's
good
there
to
quite
have him
often.
back. Okay.
I'll pick this one up with Alan as well.
Okay.
But I will come back to you on that one, yeah, so we can do it. I'll come back to some information as quick as I can.
Okay.
Leave that with me. Thank you, Lynn.
That's it. I'll just add that I'll have a word with the Community Speed Watch as well, because they're looking for another location. I'll get them to do a stint down on the Bristol Road. Yeah, and the road policing unit, motorcyclists, I'll have a word with the traffic unit about perhaps putting something up there of a morning again, see if we can cut down on the speeders. Problem with it is, it's not a target speed, it's a speed that's safe for the road, and unfortunately people tear along there, as I know. I've got family that live there as well, so it's important to me. But I think it is as well. But it's driving to the road conditions, and unfortunately, like today, I'm sure you'll have seen with the chaos on the motorway due to the diesel spillage, people become impatient, and then common sense goes out the window, and you can't do anything about that, I'm afraid. Part of the problem is any vehicle on the parts on the side of the road over 3 minutes is deemed to be causing obstruction. So technically, all the vehicles parked on Bristol roads are causing obstruction. But if you've got nowhere else to park, I know it's very difficult. But it's not a road that's designed to allow main road traffic coming from the motorway, coming into the town, and going out of the town. That's where we struggle really, is because of the parking there. It's chicken and egg really, unfortunately, isn't it? Well, you could argue that, yeah, to some extent it is self-policing because of the vehicle obstructions along there. But if people take care, it won't be such a problem. The police won't attend anything that's not injury or a reportable road traffic collision anymore. So they won't be even interested if you phone up. So it's very difficult to get the stats on that sort of thing. But like I say, I'll get the Community Speed Watch down there and have a word with the RPU about a bike down there for you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Lynn. Right. Bob?
Yeah, obviously, Lynn, we've already spoken. There's a few things. I've been in contact with David Werrett, so we're hoping to get the Speedwatch team down onto Bristol Road. But obviously, as I understand, you used to do it, as part of a group, but that group's now just went down to yourself. I don't know if that's worth looking into again. I'm quite happy to join a Speedwatch team. I think we already spoke. Thank you. I think we already spoke about, obviously, some of the houses have now extended their parking outside the front of the houses. That might be worth something to look at. And also, obviously, that house at the top, which is one of the biggest causes, because obviously the cars have to pull out because the house sits slightly out. I think we were talking about possibly looking at some boxes, some flower boxes, something to just to direct the traffic a bit better on that edge there.
Raina.
Thank you. Some weeks ago, the Portishead Town Council held a penny coronation festival in the field opposite Gordano School. I'm sure that it was well received by some, especially as everything was free, unless you wish to make a small donation. When I say everything was free, I mean the stall holders, including the ice cream vendor, paid nothing for their pitch, and there was nothing to pay entering the venue. The whole outing provided by our kind Portishead Town Council, with money provided by the town residents to pay for everything, including the field. In the interest of transparency, I would like to know, on behalf of the residents, exactly how much this event cost at Portishead Town Council, including what was paid to employ people, albeit I realise that quite a number of people volunteered their time free of charge. I would also like to know how much was received in donations and out of which budget fund all this money was taken. Free is good for the town, but at who expense? Thank you.
I'll come back. I can answer some of your questions, but I'm going to give you all in one go. So I'll come back to you separately in an email. I've got all them all. One I can answer straight off the bat is a straight easy one. It raised £1,200, which had gone to the local four causes. They've all got it, which was the Portishead Town Girls Football Club, the Christmas lights, the food bank, and Katina James, which is a Portishead parent with pride. Yeah, I'll come back to you with the cost is just being finalised at the moment because the money got paid out for something, and then we get it back what we don't use. So yeah, but I'll come back to you on that one. Any other members of the public want to speak this evening? Bob Ball's hand went up first, then Paul.
I wanted to make a comment about one of the items that are on the agenda, which is, I think, what public participation is mainly for. I wish you well trying to get an IT support. We gave Chorus more second chances than most strikers get, I think, on a football pitch. So I totally support the fact that you're trying to find somebody else. It's going to be difficult, but I hope it all works out for you.
Thank you, Bob. Paul.
Right. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. We're here to talk about the neighbourhood plan. So hopefully you've seen there's a referendum on the 20th of July. For those of you who are following it, there's been a lot of work by the community for a number of years, finally coming to fruition. So I just thought I'd just give everyone a quick update about what it's about. So the neighbourhood plan is there basically to shape the development of, always said, it's everything to do with land use. So for example, types of housing, the regeneration of any derelict lands, the infrastructure, the amenities that we need in the town, our green spaces, our environment, location of retail shops, employment and conservation. So it covers a wide range. So we've never had one before in the town. So obviously we embarked on putting that together. It gives a lot of benefits to the town, obviously having a plan. Developers don't like that much. I think we must have, the plan that is being issued must be doing something right, because we've had at least 3 developers trying to tell us to delay it. So one can only speculate, well, they don't want us to have a plan. So that just means they can obviously come in and do what they like. It also raises a lot of revenue, more revenue for the town council. So town councils, we should be interested in that. assuming that the neighbourhood plan gets a yes vote, the amount of money that developers pay directly to the town council and to the town would be 25% of the SIL money, which is the community infrastructure levy money, which is due on any new housing or industrial units and so forth. So if we had had one 4 years ago, the town council would have gained another £80,000 over that period. So even with small amounts of development, the numbers add up. So basically it means more money coming directly to the town to be invested in the town. Also, probably most importantly, it carries real legal weight. So developers and North Somerset Council and planning inspectors have got to take note of the plan and the policies and the data in it. Okay, so it means that you've always got a reference document. As I said, there's a lot of work being done on it. It's a joint effort between the Old Council and the community. There was about 50 local volunteers involved in putting it together. We received well over 2,000 comments via multiple consultations, both online, face-to-face, and so forth. So thanks to all of those who participated. The whole point of the plan is it's built by the community. It's not something the council or a developer tells you what to do. It's what the community wanted. So those wishes were taken into consideration when putting the plan together when it was written. So it's been substantial engagement. The actual physical document was written by an expert planning company called Place Studio, who previously written about 30 neighbourhood plans for other towns and parishes. I'd have to say we wouldn't have been able to do it without those guys. They were very good and did a fantastic job. So the plan had to go through a review by North Somerset Council and then by an independent planning inspector who made a small number of amendments, but actually no policy deletions, which apparently that was a first for North Somerset Council, so or the North Somerset Council area. So I think it just shows what a good job that Place Studio did. The plan covers the Portishead settlement boundary, which is basically the parish boundary. So, for example, it doesn't include the nature reserve, which is actually outside Portishead. So what's it about? The vision for the plan is a healthy, green, inclusive and prosperous community met through sustainable change, which is quite a few words. But what it means is it's about protecting our natural environment, and we're very lucky to have a fantastic green environment and obviously the coast as well. Sustainable growth that prioritises using brownfield land, responding positively to the climate emergency, protecting wildlife, valuing local facilities, making sure they're not taken away, hopefully getting some more, and obviously any housing is there to meet local needs. So we did do a housing needs assessment, and not surprisingly, there's a lot of young people who would like somewhere to live. So there's always a balance in planning, of course. The vision is for a mixed economy that supports our local businesses, town centre and high street, and obviously it would be great if there were more local jobs in Portishead. But also recognising our outstanding and distinctive environment that we have. So it's a weighty document, but if you might be interested in certain parts of it, if you're interested in the environment, or you're interested in jobs or whatever the different sections, you can dip in and have a look at. So what happens next? We're now on the final step. So as everything with local government, you have to go through many hoops. If there's a yes vote on the 20th of July and it's a referendum, so there has to be a majority of one for it to pass. And the question is, do you want North Somerset Council to use the neighbourhood plan for Portishead to help it decide planning applications in the neighbourhood area? So that's the question that people will be asked. It's a yes or no. If it's a yes, the document becomes legally binding. I think probably from the moment that the vote is announced. So that's basically what happens next. Just for the councillors, you're probably aware, but despite the town council being the statutory body that sponsored the neighbourhood plan in the first place, it's the town council is not allowed to promote the plan during the pre-referendum period, which is we're in it now. It's from the 15th of June to the July the 20th. So the town council is not allowed to promote it. Obviously, as residents, we are. Town councillors, you can as individuals, but you can't say anything either yes or no, promoting a yes or no on behalf of the council. You can obviously say things as an individual. So obviously, we're hoping that as individuals, you will support it. tell your friends and family to vote for it. Yeah, there's a lot of social media. There was a Portishead Plan Facebook page, which is at the moment doing a series of kind of bite-sized and posts explaining sort of individual sections of the plan, because it is a bit of a large document. A few people have complained it's a bit long, but actually I think we're quite proud of that, because actually the best way to fight off bad development is to have all the facts, all the data and all the evidence. Okay. You can complain till the cows come home, but you're not going to get anywhere unless you can beat off the kind of bullshit that you get from developers by having the facts and evidence in front of you, and the document there has the facts and evidence. That was it pretty much. As I said, probably the biggest vote for the plan is from the developers, who really wanted us not to do it and to delay it. So as I said, I can only speculate why. You will be getting, everyone in the town is, so you need to be a resident of Portishead to vote for it. There will be a leaflet coming out. Should be delivered to all households next week, which just gives you a bit more detail about it. And also all the documents are on the North Somerset Council website. Finally, there are 3 open day sessions at Portishead Library if anyone's got any questions. So members of the team that put the plan together will be there. The first one is this Saturday morning between 10 and 1 in the library. And there's also sessions on the 12th and 15th of July, and everyone is welcome to come along. If there's any difficult questions, Paddy will answer them. Okay. Ken. What we actually said was no more. I think there's no more development without a clear infrastructure plan. So this is effectively what we're doing. The plan, to be clear, it won't stop every development that you don't like, but what it does, it provides the fact and evidence base. It means that the developers need to take. We'll leave the voters to decide that, shall we? Any other questions? There is a copy in the library, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's also a copy here in the foyer. So if anyone wants a physical copy, there are some available. If you know someone who really wants one, there are a couple of spares. So if you contact me, I can get them to them. Ben.
Yeah, just one thing. Polling cars are dropping. Mine's just dropped through the door. Can you just enlighten people where the voting stations are? Because they're not the normal ones, which I was quite surprised about where mine is. So that is not, it's not Parish Wharf or the library, it's somewhere else.
I will try to. I don't know. I've asked the question actually in North Somerset because I was surprised as well. So when I get the answer, I'll communicate it.
I can give you mine. It's on Servet Road. It's the drilling company on Servet Road.
Yeah. When I've got the full list,
Yeah, that's fine,
I've asked the contact in North Somerset to let us know. I've also asked them to let us know where the count's taking place.
Can we?
Yeah, it is. Oh, okay. So the count's taking place in the focal. Excellent. Thank you.
Are we as a council allowed to put the dates for the open days for the consultation on our website on that?
Yeah, you're allowed to post factual information about the process. And obviously if the council can make sure people, because you'll still need to, what's the thing, have voter ID. And so those sort of factual things, you're able to do that, but you mustn't sort of say either yes or no, but anything that's factual and helps people actually, democratically vote, you can do it.
That's fine. Can we just action that, Wendy, kind of tomorrow if we can, please? Thank you.
Bob.
Yeah, obviously it's a massive amount to read, and it's quite a strain for some people who may obviously not understand it and who may not vote or who may vote no. What happens if the majority ends up as no?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's like it's a referendum, so it's no. It just basically goes. It's of no value, and there will be no plan. And basically, the developers could come in and do what they like, just as they always have done. So, yeah, that's it. It's a straight yes or no.
So we can't. So it can't be started again. Yeah, I'm just obviously let the public understand that. So if it's a no, it has to be started all over again. Yes.
Oh yeah, you'd have to go back to scratch, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
obviously the public need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time that's It's gone and wasted.
It's a good question, yeah, but yeah, basically if people reject it, that's democracy, isn't it? So, yeah, take that one on the chin. Any other questions?
Any more questions, anyone?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, thanks a lot. Just like to say, I love all the stuff around the wall and I'm very happy to highlight. Okay, thank you.
Any other members of the public like to speak? Anyone in the room? Anybody online? No? Cool. We shall get on to item 6. Can we just note, we have received, obviously Roger's not here, he's on holiday, but we have received a formal report from Roger Whitfield, which will be issued to all councillors. Can we issue it? Does anyone else want to? I'm assuming we can. Yeah, and if any members of the public do want to see it, please let us know, let me know, or email me or Wendy, and we'll get you a copy. So if you would like one, Ken, I can get one hand delivered to you. Roger Whitfield's, what you've been up to. Tim?
Yeah, just sorting out the committees and things. So I'm now chair of Bit Rights Away, so it should be quite exciting. So that's like a subcommittee from the planning, and to go on to that, I need to join the planning committee, so I'll join that as well. I'm also on the health overview scrutiny panel, and also on the back of that, I'm joining the ASH group as well, which is Adult Services and Social Housing. So we just had one planning committee come through a couple of weeks ago, and that was for 60 odd houses at Churchill, and that got through, which is quite sad because it's on the outside of the settlement boundary. So as we try to argue here on planning about settlement boundaries, this still got through. So on the advice of North Somerset. And other than that, the local stuff, it's I've had an issue with somebody with not having her black bags picked up because they didn't have North Somerset stamped on them. And I think that's not, not quite fair, is it really? So had a chat with the officers, and what they've arranged for her is to have assisted collection. So if you know anybody who's got problems with not being able to use a wheelie bin, which is too big or heavy for them, and they prefer the black bags, there can be assisted collections that can be arranged, which will save a lot of bother. So they will come up to the door and take the bins and empty them for them. And the other thing is just a few people are inquiring about the camper vans and motorhomes. There seems to be about 20 or down on the lake grounds now. So it's trying to find a solution to that, because some people are for it and a lot of people are against. So it's having a chat with the officers and trying to sort that out as well. That was it. Ooh, what magazine was that? Do you know? So there is just a come and park here for free. That's because, as some of you know, I've got a motorhome myself, and it's nice to get out and do things on the cheap, not spend a fortune, because campsites can be £40 a night and you've got screaming kids running around kicking your van. So what we do is we go for the cheaper option, but what my wife likes to do is look at a thing on the phone called Park for the Night, and Portishead is advertised on there as a free stopover, and that's why we're getting a lot of more people coming down, because they're going for the Park for the Night. I keep telling my wife to stop using that damn app because I'm fed up with it, because half of it is you go there and you shouldn't really be parking there, you're in a residential area, and I'm really dead against that, but just trying to find a solution to it. But yeah, we're working hard on that one. No, there isn't. There were signs along the Esplanade Road, but they get ignored, and and people are taking them down. So the other options maybe is having a height barrier on the Esplanade Road to stop them parking on there and damaging the pavement, and maybe let them park up down the bottom by the bowling club. I don't know. It's what everybody else wants as well. It's not, just myself and a few residents. So something that needs to be looked into on our playgrounds project, for definite.
Thanks, Tim.
That's a hard one. I mean, if it's planning, they'd like to, if we get a thing called into committee, say like this housing estate, the officers say we'd like this to happen, but there's always a reason, because if it goes to appeal and North Somerset lose, then North Somerset pay out a lot of money. So and that's a lot of money wasted. I can't remember the numbers that was lost on the Bristol airport. I think it's about 500,000 or something like that. I can't remember now. Extortionate amount for the size of that. There's a massive loss. So they're trying to stop us from stopping everything that we want. I'm trying to find proper words now. Try and get a level thing where it's all going to work. But if we're going to lose, we're going to get a bill. And that's what the officers are worried about, but also stuff that should be fair as well. So they can just advise us, not to let a certain thing go through as well, and we can still vote against that. So.
Thank you,
It gives
Timmy.
me a headache.
On that one, I was actually spoken to by 2 residents this afternoon, and they said it's ridiculous. I kind of agree. It's crazy. It's like just a polite word to put it, like a scrap heap down Esplanade Road sometimes.
A shanty town?
Well, something like that, yeah. And their suggestion, this was their suggestion, that we should start charging for it, £5 a camper per night. That was their suggestion, not mine. Well, yeah, you have, but if these apps are quite happy to put it on their apps, or their catalogues are happy to put it in their catalogue, well, hold on a minute, have some responsibility. This is not your town for one. Have some respect for the residents that live here, and then let's have a conversation. So, yeah, it's crazy. We'll take that one back to Timmy.
Yes.
On
that, on the charging things, there is an idea that I have where if we allow a few camper vans parked down there in some designated spaces, is to charge them £10 per night, but give them facilities, empty their toilet wastes and replenish their water, because otherwise it can get mucky down there. But again, working that one out is another one. Yes, I've actually seen somebody put on the campervan forum on Facebook where we've got a lovely new pavement on the Esplanade, and there was a barbecue there close to the pavement. And I went down there and I just told them to put that out and go home. And they're 10 foot away from the beach. That's ridiculous.
Last one, Bob, then we'll go to Sue.
Yeah, I just checked online now. I've found 4 so far advertising Esplanade Road. This one says free parking without restriction of height or time on the estuary facing South Wales. One-way system to access the lake, beautiful views and walks, coffee and toilet for the whole day.
Yeah, I think we should write to them personally, but yeah, North Somerset should anyway do their job. That's what they're paid for. Sue.
I will make this brief. Is that better? No, I am only little. So just a short report, just to say to the wider public, thank you very much for voting for me. And I hope that I will do everybody proud. I'm on 2 committees or panels. One is the Children and Young People's Services Policy and Scrutiny Panel. It's a bit of a mouthful. And then also Transport, Climate and Communities Policy and Scrutiny Panel. They are, I think, some of the panels and committees that North Somerset have had in the past have been rearranged. So this is why this is sort of, slightly different. I'm also the North Somerset rep on Portishead Youth Centre and wherever, Tanya was there a minute ago, yes, but she's there. And I've also attended many training sessions organised by North Somerset, and they are either you can go down to Town Hall in Weston or they are online, which is rather nice these days. And I have actually used them or, have attended them online. I've also responded to emails from Portishead residents. And I have also arranged surgeries on the first Tuesday of the month between 10:30 and 11:30 at the library. So if anybody wants to come and see me about anything in Portishead West or wherever, I will be there. Thank you very much.
Roger.
Roger.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Would you like a copy of his report, Ken, that he sent us? I'll get it sent to you. I didn't know whether you caught me when I asked you first time around, so I thought I'd ask again. That's it. There are no other updates from other North Somerset councillors. Rest assured, I am on the case. I'm like a dog with a bone. I'm not letting go. We will have a report from all of them come September. So yeah, no, I just wanted to note it, obviously, because but yeah, it will be on the minutes, and say anyone that does want a copy, then will happily be passed a copy. So yeah, councillors, residents, etc. So yeah, thank you. Item 7 is to consider the minutes and approve the minutes from the last meetings. So draft minutes for the extraordinary council meeting held on the 12th of April 2023, which are attached. So obviously, there was only on that, obviously myself. Who was there actually? It's not. There was. Give me a second. It was. Bob was there. Janet was there. And Alan was there. So Alan, Bob, Cartwright, and Janet. I'm happy that the meetings. Oh, and no, sorry, ignore that. I'm happy the meeting minutes are correct. Have you also acknowledged the correct or not? Or have you read them? I hope you have. Yeah. So is somebody happy to propose that the minutes for the extraordinary town council meeting are a correct and present record of the meeting? Bob to propose, Janet second. If you're in favour of the minutes being passed as present and correct for the meeting, can you please raise your hand? That's Alan, me, Bob, Janet, Paul, and Austin. And the draft minutes for the annual council meeting held on the 11th of May 2023 again are attached. Again, I'm happy that they're correct. Does anybody have any questions on them? So is somebody happy to propose that the minutes are correct? Paul C. propose, seconded by Bob. Can't write, his hand's gone up. So if you're in favour of the minutes being approved, please raise your hands. That's a yes. Thank you. The next few items on the agenda went through staffing and finance committee last week. And we recommended obviously they be approved. Obviously it's now full council. So I'm not going to go through every single one. Obviously, I would expect people to have obviously read them. So any questions you've got, please let us know as we go through the relevant items accordingly. Just let these go and then we'll carry on. Item 8 is the internal audit report for 2022-2023, obviously which is attached, which runs and to the year ending 31st of March 2023. And obviously AGAR, obviously CERT 22 and 23, obviously is also attached. As it says, obviously the council internal audit obviously is based on the audit and assessment of risk carried out against selective assessment of compliance and controls. Obviously members are asked to note the recommendations for the Staffing and Finance Committee to consider a report and AGAR CERT 22-23 and approve the findings and outcomes. Does anybody have any questions on this? Therefore, the recommendation is to approve the findings and outcomes of the internal audit report for the 2022-2023 financial year to the 31st of March 23. Somebody happy to propose? That will be John. Somebody happy to second? Martin. If you're in favour, please raise your hands. That is a full house. Thank you. Item 9, obviously accounts the year ending 31st of March 2023. And again, obviously the accounts for the financial year that ended 2023. Obviously went again Staffing and Finance Committee to approve the accounts which are attached. Does anybody have any questions off the back of this? No. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve the accounts for the financial year ending the 31st of March 2023. Do I have a proposer? John, a seconder? Emma? All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's a yes, thank you. Item 10, consolidated obviously bank statement, 31st of March 2023. Again, obviously, as per last week, Staffing and Finance Committee noted to approve the council's consolidated bank statement for the 31st of March 2023 attached. Does anybody have any questions on this one? No. Therefore, the recommendation is to consider, note and approve the consolidated bank statement for the 31st of March 2023. Do we have a proposer? That'll be John. He's got a pull string thing going on. Seconder, Janet. If you're in favour of passing the motion, can you please raise your hands? That's a yes. Thank you. Tablet stop working. Item 11 is annual governance and accountability return, AGAR 22-2023. Obviously, it says, as it says here, obviously small authorities are required under the accounts and auditing regulations 2015 to prepare accounting statements for the year ended 31st of March 2023 in the form required by proper practices. Members are asked to consider the recommendations of the Staffing and Finance Committee that the following sections of AGAR report are approved. Section 1 is annual governance statement 2022-2023 attached, and section 2 is account statements for 2022-2023 attached. Obviously, members are also asked to note obviously that period of public rights for 22-23 will commence on the 3rd of July 2023 and end on the 11th of August 2023, which is also attached. Does anybody have any questions on this? No. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve sections 1 and 2 of the AGAR annual governance statement 2022-2023 and also the accounting statements for 2022-2023, and to note that the period of rights of 22-23 will commence on the 3rd of July and end on the 11th of August 2023. Do we have a proposer for the motion? John. Do we have a seconder? Martin. If you're in favour, can you please raise your hands? That is a yes. I think Janet's pointing in the air. And also just a note for kind of record, obviously, I believe she's on here, Rachel. Thank you, Rachel, for the immense amount of hard work you kind of do to put all this together. Yeah, it's a task and a half. So thank you, Rachel. Much appreciated. Penny Festival 2024. This is kind of more of an update from me, really. Obviously, there was a number of questions raised by a resident this evening. I didn't answer 2 of them because I haven't got all the information. I want to make sure I present the right facts first. So, as we know, the event happened last year in recognition, obviously, of the Queen's achievement of reaching 70 years. Sadly, events took hold not long after that. The event was put on solely for the purpose to help the residents support us ahead, have an enjoyable event, and for the businesses that have struggled like hell through COVID, that you could say supported by government funds, but not particularly supported and helped in other hands. So we felt it was important to help people. One, to help the businesses. Yes, it's a free event for businesses to come along. Majority of the businesses that came along last year and again this year were from in and around Portishead and North Somerset. So we are helping local businesses and the North Somerset region. There were a couple outside of Portishead. For 2 reasons, we got dropped in it right at the last minute, literally by a big pullout, which causes a problem. However, one of the ones that was there this year, they will remain nameless, but they won't be coming back next year if we do go ahead next year. So the budget that was awarded with addition was £25,000 that was granted for this year's budget. We have come under budget again. We did last year, and we have come under again. We had just over 7,200 people there or thereabouts come through the gates on the day. And when you consider, 1, it was a red hot lovely day. 2, we competed against Love Save the Day, and obviously also the Arctic Monkeys were in town that weekend as well. I think it's a fantastic event, and I think the residents of Portishead clearly loved it. The feedback we had from residents and people that attended, absolutely fantastic event. It's a shame that some of the residents that did ask the question aren't here, because they could have heard and found out some of the information, but never mind. I can let them know. But it was a fantastic event. I would like to run it again next year. I'm asking council just to think about it. We're putting a report together at the moment with all the final figures, and we'll run it on the similar context. It would just be, though, called the Portishead Penny Festival. No coronation next year. I don't think that's going to happen, is it? We can't afford another one. But, you know, it's an immense amount of work that goes into this. There are 2 people that we kind of need to thank. Nikki, she's not here. She's doing well on holiday. An immense amount of work she does behind the scenes to put this event on. Obviously, Wendy as well helped us out. We had a bit of an issue the week of the event on the Monday from a certain local authority. I won't tell you who they are, you might be able to guess who they are. There was a point where the event may well have been off. We fought our corner, and we fought our corner hard. Me and Nikki were up until gone 10 o'clock talking on one of the nights. Then we actually, in the end, spoke to someone else to answer our question what we thought it was. We fought back at them, and then eventually, on the Wednesday afternoons, we were having a meeting at 4:30. They emailed us, say, actually, yes, you're right. You don't need a notice for the event. You can carry on. The way they enforce the laws of the land is the way North Somerset choose to enforce it on some occasions.
Mr. Chairman, there's a 3rd person that needs to be thanked, and that's yourself. I think without your sterling work, yeah, you're very, very good.
Thank you. It's appreciated. I wasn't going to mention me because it's not about me. It's about what the staff and Wendy and Nikki in particular just immense amount of work, but also, you know, the volunteers, councillors volunteers, residents have volunteered. We had 40+ volunteers for the event. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. The weather was beautiful. Like I say, I would love to bring it back next year, but just please think about it and just see where we go. It will be run on a similar concept is the idea. The feedback we've had is run it from the same time, but finish it an hour earlier is the main feedback we've had, and just a bit of a mix for the music. So we have spoken to relevant acts that would perform this year, because there was 3 different acts. There was a 4th in the offing. They're all happy to attend, but obviously we just need to kind of council to consider it. There is also something which none of you know about yet. On the day, we were speaking to Wendy Watkins. Some of you will know who she is. Wendy Watkins is a carnival lady, along with Gemma, who ran the carnival for many, 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 many years. Unfortunately, due to a number of reasons, COVID, and other reasons, the carnival hasn't run for the past, I think it's 4 years now. Wendy and I would love to bring it back. We are meeting with Wendy in the coming weeks. What we would like to do is make it a joint event. So we bring the carnival back, which will be absolutely amazing. Run it as a joint event. We have the carnival start from where it starts from at the Lake Grounds. Carnival runs all the way through the town, through the high street, decamps everybody at the show field. Trucks then go to the football club as they normally do, park up there, go and deal with what they need to deal with, and let a number of people off as well, so they can then go in and whatever. The event will have already started, obviously, but then everybody arrives. There'll be kind of a big grand opening when they all arrive, and kind of the presentations awarded for best dressed float, for example, or whatever it is. It's an idea in action at the moment, hence why I'm just asking you all to consider it. So the budget may change. I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know. But I, for one, think it would be amazing if we could bring the carnival back and combine it with this event. I think it'd be fantastic for the town. Even more fantastic for the businesses and residents of this town, because again, the people it brings in, it's a bit like the Christmas lights. It's not just people, you get 10,000 people at the Christmas lights switch on. It's not just the town they come from Bristol, they come from Weston. You know, there's one town already cancelled their Christmas light switch on this year in Worcestershire area because of reasons. Yeah. Anyway, it's crazy. So I can't speak highly about the event. It was a brainchild on a kind of felt like a Sunday afternoon fag paper. And when me, Nikki, and Paddy and a few others sat in the Royal before it closed, sadly, although it's due to reopen soon, we sat in there with a number of volunteers, and one volunteer in particular turned around to us and said, "You've got no chance." This was in January, but anyone we're putting an event on for May. "You got no chance." Well, say that to me, it's generally red rag to a bull. I could run an event anyway, put them on, but we pulled it off. 2 people pulled it off, and that was me and Nikki pulled it off totally, literally, with Paddy's assistance along the way. And then she summarised, far more than me about this. Leave you to it. But we did it, and I think it's been a massive success. We raised £1,800 last year for local causes. The residents choose the causes, not us. It's their choice who the money goes to. And the only reason we charge a penny is because no matter where it is in North Somerset land, there are fees they have to apply. They're legally required to apply, some of them, because it's a government law. Some of them, yeah. So we charge a penny for people to come in. If they can't put a penny in, then that's fine. We're not stopping people. It's not right. But yeah, it's just a note. Just could think about it for 2024. Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite passionate about it myself. The well-being side of it is massive for this town. We don't know where we're going as a country at the moment. It's pretty dire. So we need as much as possible. Obviously, we've now lost the raft race. I don't know when that's ever going to return again. We also obviously lost the generic Red Bull race. So I did speak to Wendy, funny enough, about a year ago, and I did mention the same thing about joining 2 bits together and making a big event out of it. So I'm all for it from day one, to be honest. And personally myself, I'd just like to thank you, Ben and Nikki, because I think the work that you have put in, even though obviously I was there for the day, but the hours that you guys put in, you must have been absolutely shattered. But thanks very much.
Pleasure, thank you. I actually left, so I got there at 7 o'clock on the Saturday morning, having been there most of Thursday and all day Friday. I left, I actually turned off the lights and shut the gates at 11:45 on Saturday night. I got up the next morning feeling a bit, probably the words ropey, because I got home, tried to be very, very quiet, and my son woke up and said, "Daddy, come and sit in my bed." And I put my head in my hands and said, "No, I wanted a night's sleep." He wasn't meant to be there, bless him. He'd gone to grandma's for a sleepover. Didn't go well. So I got home expecting the house to be empty, and it wasn't. So I was shucks. Yeah. So where's my wife's car there? It's not here. Anyway, so yeah, bless him. But no, it is great. I could wax lyrical about this all night, but you'll be bored. But it's an amazing event. So yeah, let's just think about it. Food for thought. Item 13 is obviously the IT contract. And it's obviously consider notifying the current IT providers that Town Council will not be renewing the current IT contract, obviously, and to allow officers to obtain 3 quotes from IT services, which obviously the report is attached. I kind of want to echo what Bob Bull said earlier. The support we've had from Chorus is nothing short of appalling at times. Whether you're a councillor or a staff member trying to get a service from them is like, yeah, blood out the stone. And it's when something goes wrong. I mean, I know of a number of people that have actually got it sorted themselves by literally digging on their own computer and sorting it out. Or Bob, when he was a councillor, go around to a councillor's house and sorting it out. No names mentioned. But you know, it's you're paying for a service, you expect to get it, and we're just not getting it. So I do think it's going to be a bit of a hard test. But I know Wendy's on it, and I've got every faith in this again. So the recommendation is to delegate to the town clerk the authority to notify, obviously, that the town council will not be renewing the current IT contract. Just we added that before us, just so people know who it is with. Does anybody have any questions on that one? Paul C.
Yeah, as many of you will know, I work in IT. I manage IT contracts. That's what I do. I was going to say Monday to Friday, but it's not Monday to Friday. 7 days a week. And I've experienced the service that we get from Chorus, and it is shocking. So this is something we absolutely need to do. You know, there are over 700 IT providers within the UK, and that's just UK based IT providers. You know, we've got a huge field to go and choose from. They're all very hungry to grow. They've all struggled through COVID, and they're all hungry to grow. So there will be a lot of opportunity. So yeah, I think this is a good move.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone wants any questions? No. So the recommendation is obviously to obviously let me get right 1 second. Where's it gone? It's all right, my notes, my tablet skipped up. To delegate to the town clerk to notify obviously that town council will not be renewing the current IT contract with Chorus. Somebody happy to propose the motion? Paul C. Second, Janet. If you're in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That is a yes. Thank you. Item 14. To approve the following invoices for payments, obviously WorkNest and Jones Associates. Again, the invoices are attached. So if you have any questions, let me know in a second. And 2, to note that the Gertie Gales allotment loan has been repaid in full. So we will do these as one vote. However, does anybody have any questions on item 1 first? John.
How the vote in respect to John's Associates.
You've got a red light on. Well, okay, can anyone hear me now? Yeah, regardless of how the vote goes in respect of John's Associates, I think that we should be going back to John's Associates and ask them to amplify some areas which are in our statement of requirements, but which, as far as I can see, they have not explicitly answered. If you look in the report on sections 1.2, which says purpose of this report, item 4 says to identify any areas where development can proceed with minimal damage. And the other one, which gives me cause for concern, is item 7, which says to produce a development strategy document. Now, I don't see either of those in the report as it stands currently. I think that we should be asking John's Associates to fulfill that section of our requirements.
Yeah, thanks, John. I did see your email the other day on it. Obviously, the document's gone out, which is what you're referring to.
Yes.
There were several discussions as we kicked off this process with John's Associates, and the original scope did have to be changed slightly. There were some things that were determined to be outside of what they would be able to deliver. The end result is that a number of us, at the time, it was Paul Gardner at the time, and myself, and Peter Burden, we all went through the report with John's associates, and we've all confirmed that in line with the amended outcome, it does deliver what we've asked them to deliver.
Okay, could you just show me where something?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you, John, and thank you for answering the question. Anybody else have any questions on that part one? No. And obviously, part two will say is just to note that obviously Gertie Gales have repaid their loan in full. Therefore, the recommendation is to approve the invoices for payment to Worknest and John's Associates, and to note that the Gertie Gales allotment loan has been repaid in full. Do I have a proposer for the motion? Bob, quite right. Seconder, Martin. If you're in favour of the motion, please raise your hand. That's a yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you all. Item 15 is renaming the Fedden Room. Obviously, report is attached. Okay, right at the bottom. Where is it? Right. Obviously, again, as it says here, kind of past few months, obviously, Room of Folk Hall, obviously, it's been changed its appearance, been painted, and some bits and bobs been kind of put in there as a drop-in space, etc. To effectively kind of welcome people in if they want to come and talk to somebody or just have a chill out, then they kind of can. So obviously, as we know, we've got several different rabbit runs within the whole hall. The Fedden Room obviously was originally named as in the honour of obviously Henry Fedden, etc. I'm looking. Yeah, and it obviously users of Fedden Room should be rebranded as the Community Wellbeing Room. I'm not kind of sure what I think about this, if I'm completely honest. I don't see why we should be renaming the room, because it was done in honour of an individual in the past. And this is my opinion. Have your own, obviously. I don't think we should be renaming it, personally. I think it's wrong, but that's my opinion. I'm happy to change, and I'm flexible around change, and that's fine. But I don't see why we're changing it. But yeah, Mike first, then Paul.
Well, inevitably, the Fedden Room had artifacts in there which rather reflected its heritage, and they have now gone. And I've no idea what will happen to them, because some of them are quite physically large, as I understand, I seem to recall. Maybe the odd picture or two could be enhancing our walls in the spaces that I can still see dotted around. Yeah, no, I sort of slightly share your view. I mean, I don't know when it was called the Fedden Room, clearly many, many years ago. Maybe the two names could be combined. But as for the artifacts, yes, I sort of feel that perhaps they're slightly out of place if it's got sofas and comfy things in there to relax people and have sort of intimate conversations. But yes, I'm a bit on the fence with it as well.
Thank you, Mike. Paul C. I didn't say Paul C anymore, do I? I think all Paul say.
Oh, thank you. I'm in agreement, and I think I also agree with Mike that I think the artifacts that were in there don't really lend themselves to that sort of soft, comfortable, relaxing environment. They were a bit harsh and sharp, etc. So I don't have a problem with the artifacts being moved, but I think it would be a shame if we lost the historical connection with. It could be an opener to a conversation. Why is it called the Fedden Room? It's sometimes it takes something as simple as that sort of question to allow somebody to start talking if they're struggling. So for me, I wouldn't be thinking this would be a good name change to what would ultimately be you'd rename it as a function. You'd be renaming it as a function. It would be like having storage cupboard or toilets. It was, I think Fedham Room is a name that should stay.
Thank you, Paul. Janet?
Just so you know, Mike, the Fedden Village want the stuff to go into their artifacts and heritage, which is ideal, and that's where they should be. But I also agree that it should remain to be being the Fedden Room, and I'm one of the most passionate people for having a well-being room, as you know. However, it's always been the Fedden Room since we've known it, and I think it should stay as a historic reference to how our hall started.
A nod to the past, as you would say.
Sorry?
A nod to the past, as you would say.
Absolutely, I believe in having heritage in this town and in
gathered.
this hall, believe it or not.
Bob's.
Yeah, the ironic thing today, we've had two sides of this. You have an older generation and some ex-councillors who wish to remove our history across from the walls. And now we discuss a name of one of our rooms. Now, generations change, but at the moment, the generation isn't ready to change. And I think we should respect that with the Fedden Room. I'm not looking at you.
Tim, then Sue.
Yeah, I'd like to keep it as Fedden Room, but another idea out there really is change it to Snaden Room. I've got a train set at home that's too big for the room. I can store it in there as an artifact.
Anyway, moving on, Sue.
You won't let me forget that, will you? Thank you. You've made me now forget what I was going to say. Yes, yes. The Fedden Room, I think that is a good idea to keep the name. It is well known. It isn't obviously just related to, as you said, this building, but it is he was a very important person within Portishead. But bearing that in mind, and obviously people in the future hiring the room thinking, well, who is Mr. Fedden? Who is it, Mr., Mrs., whatever. It would be lovely to have something in there that people could read about what the history of the Fedden Room and everything that was there. So I make that suggestion too.
Yeah, I'll take your point on that one, Sue. Yeah, I like that idea.
But we
Yeah.
can't have that sort of thing on the walls, you realise that.
So, Mike again.
Could I perhaps suggest that it's renamed the Fedden Wellbeing Room? The Fedden Wellbeing Room. The
Fedden Village. Yeah. One sec. Yeah. One. Right.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mike MacDonald and I manage the community halls. I do appreciate the history. I'm a great believer in the history of the town and of the halls themselves. One thing I would ask you to consider is that Henry Fedden ran the nautical school. It was a very, very successful school. And I've spoken to many people who went there and were transformed by it. But there is also the fact that this was a borstal, and it was formerly a borstal at one stage. And there will be survivors of abuse that will have been abused within that environment. Many of the people who are coming in for our counselling sessions will be counselled as a result of historical abuse. Do we want to consider reminding them of that fact, which is part of the thought process.
Thank you, Mike. I think, so my opinion is that we pause this one this evening. I don't think we're gonna get a decision on this. My opinion, I take Mike's points, and there is a historical issue that are going on with, unfortunately, things that happened in the past, which people just can't let go of for a variety of reasons, because they're just never going to, because the damage that's been done to them physically, emotionally, and mentally. And we have to help them people. I think there's also the other side of the flip coin is how much of your past do you erase? I think this is the debate that's raging at the moment, isn't it? And I think where do you go with this one? My proposal is that we defer this and we have a conversation between us and see what we can do on it and come to a satisfactory conclusion. Whether it comes back and it's renamed, or whether we tweak the name, or whether we leave it as it is, I think we need to have a conversation around it. There's a lot to consider. I think Mike's bit's given us the food for thought. We have to take in everybody's account, and obviously, as Mike said, there may be people in this town or not in this town that know about him, the room, the name, whatever, or other individuals. I don't know. I just think we need to consider and be careful what we do on it, and just consider it for the right reasons, and not just because we want to call it a community hub anymore, or we want to wipe out history or whatever. So I think we just need to take it off agenda and come back on it. We'll leave it at that on that one this evening. We'll come back on that one. Hall operations, item 16. Mike's going to talk on very kindly. The report is attached, so please check it out now if you're not already. And again, straight after that, once we vote upon it, then Folk Hall refurbishments again. Mike, we'll talk upon.
While I'm trying not to trip over all my own health and safety hazards. First thing to make the council aware of is that we have recently changed our gas suppliers for both the Folk Hall and Redcliffe Bay Hall. They were due to end a fixed price contract in June. We have to give a period of notice. This was during the period when the elections were taking place, and effectively we were non-functional as a council. And we took the decision in line with financial regulations, as we're able to do, to switch suppliers. If we hadn't done so, we would have gone to an out of contract rate, which would have equated to around £12,300. By making that decision, we're now back in contract, and our gas contracts now are about 7,300. Nonetheless, a very, very significant increase on what our previous contract was. So it's merely to make you aware of the fact that we have switched suppliers.
Right, pause that thought. Don't go any further. I'm switching back and forth. So obviously, the recommendation is effectively just to note the change of contract with the gas supply, the Folk Hall and Redcliffe Bay Hall. Do we need to vote on it? Just for noting it, aren't we? Yeah. So just for your information on that one. And now again, the report is attached. The Folk Hall refurbishments.
The Folk Hall, as we can see, it's an elderly building, getting a little tired around the edges. It was last subject to a major refurbishment, and even that wasn't that major, in 1998. The hall itself was redecorated in 2020, but most of the actual building itself wasn't subject to major work. The last time the carpets were changed in a large part of the building were around 1998. And the carpet in the main office now, where the staff work, is, to say the least, a health and safety risk. There's a plinth which sits in the middle of it, which is around about that tall, about 3-4 inches tall. And every single member of staff has tripped over it or fallen off it on at least one occasion. And many other members of the council. As it's also rucked, it's worn through, it's got cuts and damage in it. Similarly, we would also like to replace the carpet in the Fedden room, which is in similar state. And as such, we would request release of funding to do so. We will at the same time be taking out the plinth. We can't take out the plinth unless we replace the carpet at the same time.
Question. Presume you know why the plinth is there.
Yes, it was actually put in, we understand, because a previous member of staff complained about the fact that the floor was uneven.
Yes.
It's on a slope, minor but sufficient that they were complaining it gave them a bad back.
Correct. And so by removing the plinth, is that issue likely to reoccur?
The rest of the floor is in a similar state. None of the other members of staff complain about it. That member of staff is no longer with us.
Bob?
Yeah, I just wondering, are there any reviews for 2024?
Sorry?
Is there any reviews to look at in 2024? So obviously, if we're looking at issues now that need to be dealt with, is there future issues that will come up in 2024?
In terms of the health and safety
Yeah.
requirements for the buildings,
Yeah. Right, so it's quite a substantial
quite substantial.
list, yeah.
It's an understatement.
Okay, so we need to, as a council, we need to look at that as well.
We will do, but we have to take it one piece at a time.
Okay,
If we try to wait until we got a list of everything, it will take us months just to get the list. In the meantime, we're presenting risks to our staff and our visitors.
okay, thanks very much.
Mike, obviously Bob, Bree, May, and Wendy, obviously we're meeting with Mike regularly. Obviously you all know my background, what the world I work in. So yeah, it's that where we won't water. But the list is long. The list is expensive. I think this goes back to one of Mike's comments, the fact that things haven't been done properly for many years in this place. And unfortunately, you kind of reap what you sow. And I think, unfortunately, we're now, getting stuck on this one. There's some of the stuff we've got to get done to comply with new legislation, etc. I mean, the figures are eye-watering. I mean, in the scheme of things, the folk call are eye-watering. My scheme of things, what I see on a daily basis doesn't even touch the lip of the glass, but it's eye-watering numbers. So we are working through it. We're working through the things that affect the day-to-day running of things that are going to affect people the most. We are working through a list. So there is a plan in place. It's a clear plan. And obviously I'm in communication regularly in it, and I've asked for a couple of other things to go off the back of that. And one of them is a building condition survey for all 3 halls, because we need to understand not just what health and safety and fire safety is saying, what is an independent building fabric surveyor saying about this building, Redcliffe and Northwestern? What is our foreseeable cost in the coming years?
Sorry, so we have to look at this as part of the budget for next year.
Yeah, we're going to have to, which is why it's being done, being looked at the moment. So at some point, hopefully September time, we'll be able to come back with a full report for council to consider. But before you come into that meeting on that night, just take a very deep breath. I suggest you probably also have a glass of water. You might need it. So yeah, because the survey will take into account everything, and they will actually give you what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, against what it needs to be done against, and also the cost, indicative cost, which they're an independent body. Most of them are accredited by a certifier called RICS, so RICS surveyors, so they have to be qualified. So this comes from a totally independent body that just present you with a report of a warts and all. And generally, it's not particularly nice reading. You want your very dark sunglasses on because they tend to hurt. So yeah, so just watch that space on that one. We'll come back to that bit anyway. But my question, obviously, on the carpet replacement for the feeding room, obviously, and the offices, obviously there are quotes. Quote one for the feeding room is 885 plus VAT. Sorry, including VAT, and quote 2 is 1260, including VAT. For the carpet in the main office is 1650, including VAT, and 3116, including VAT. Obviously, we don't know who they are, but is there a preferred supplier on the quality of carpet I'm looking at? The price to me is slightly irrelevant. It's the quality of the material and etc.
They're both identical class, business class of use. So they're both the same identically.
That's fine. So I would propose then, if nobody, oh my goodness gracious me. I'm going to get some ratchets next time round. And every time someone puts a hand up, you're going to yank it backwards. I'm going to go with Mike first. I think he's not intent first. I'm going to go with Alan.
Yeah, the quotes received, the difference between the two quotes in the first instance are relatively small, whereas in the second, there's quite a disparity between the two quotes. Does that include removing the plinth as well? Why do you feel there's this sort of £2,000 gap between the two in the second quote?
It doesn't include removing the plinth. We propose to undertake that ourselves with the town orderly and myself to reduce the costs. So it's for the same level of work. I think the fundamental difference is the potential preparation that the one supplier believes is required rather than the other.
What's your view on that matter?
I think that it would be very nice to go for the higher quote, but I think fundamentally they will both do the same job and they will both be an awful lot safer than we currently have.
Are you convinced that the cheaper of the quotes is going to give you the satisfactory solution?
Yes.
You're confident?
Yes. They're both local suppliers. They're both of good reputation.
Okay. Alan?
Yeah, I bow to Mike's superior knowledge, to be quite honest, with him working in there on a daily basis and his background. But is there any difference in the timescale, Mike, of either of the companies?
No, both of the quotes were obtained some time ago, and the prices were valid for 14 days, which is the reason I've actually asked for more to allow for inflationary increases. But no, they were both proposing that they could do that within a relatively short period of time, as in weeks, not months.
What provisions would we be making to move the staff out to temporary offices? Is they going to be upstairs or
going to your house?
No, we're the quotes are for carpet tiles, which actually allows us the flexibility to move around within the space at the same time that we're having the tiles fitted.
I'm going to hit this in a minute. Personally, I think it's down to Mike. I know this is the council and it's the meeting, but Mike's in the position to know the right thing here. I would be guided by him personally.
Thank you, Alan. You please not damage council property.
Just get us a couple of spare tiles as well, in case it's a spillage.
Yeah, that's the intention. That's one of the advantages of going for the tiles.
Emma.
Mike's picked up what I was going to say, actually, the disparity between the quotes, but equally whether the plinth was being removed by yourselves, because it wasn't noted as part of the quote. So that was it.
No, in both cases, they were fully aware that we're removing the plinth. It's simply, I think, the overheads that they add to the quotes.
Anybody else, any other questions? No? Cool. So, as the papers say, for the Fedden room, the request is replaced under quote 1 to a maximum value of £1,000, just to allow for obviously the effects of inflation which have happened since these quotes were obtained, which is inclusive of VAT, obviously, and also for the main office, again for the replacement, is to go with quote 1, and again to allow an increase for inflation to a value of £2,000. Therefore, the proposal is, the recommendation is that we look to approve to release the cost of £3,000 for recarpeting of the Fedden room and the main town council offices to be done against quote 1 for both. Do I have a proposer for the motion? Janet, seconder, Mike, Alan's too angry. If you're in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, and thank you, Mike, for the work and contribution on this. It's appreciated. So that is agenda items finished for this evening. You'll note the date of the next meeting is here is Thursday, the 12th of July 2023. However, I'm proposing we don't have the meeting in July. Reason being, it's only 2 weeks away. So if there is anything that comes up, there isn't a full council in August, but it's in September. If anything comes up that's urgent, we have an EGM anyway. So because we've only got 2 weeks between the two, if it was the end of July, fine, I'd run with it. but it's 2 weeks. Literally, the agenda will be having to go out at the end of next week. Therefore, Wendy and other officers have to work like little squirrels, get it all together. So I'm of the opinion we defer July's meeting. We don't do it. We'll go to September. However, like I say, if an urgent matter does come up, I will call an EGM accordingly and let you all know. So does anybody have any objection to that? No. Cool. Thank you. So 19, which I have to read out, is under the Public Bodies Admission to Meetings Act 1960, members of the public and press are required to leave the meeting, Title 20, due to the item being confidential matters, contractual matters containing sensitive information. The recommendation is that council has agreed to exclude the press and public from the meeting. Do I have a proposer? Emma, seconder, Paul, if all those in favour? Say yes, thank you. The meeting is officially closed at 9:20 p.m. Thank you. Thank you, Sue, for your contribution and coming along. Thank you, Sue.